Hello, and thank you for downloading this episode of Discussing Documentaries with myself, Matt Wills, and Rick Wharton. Oh, excuse me. Today...
Oh, man,
did that?
Peter Bischoffy peanut butter eating motherfucker. Alright, we just had a whole chat about how this is going pro, and then there's you burping and wiping your stomach down in your fucking intro.
I haven't eaten an apple in ages. That was good though. Biscoffy, if you haven't had that stuff, it's just superb. Right, today we are talking about Man on Wire from the year 2008. The provider initially was YouTube, but we'll get into that in a second. The director, did you notice the director, Rick?
I didn't, no.
Okay, the director is James Marsh. Does that help?
Is that Scientologist dude?
No, close though. Discussing Documentaries, episode 22, Project Nim.
Ah, right.
He's that guy. And he also did the Theory of Everything, the film about Stephen Hawking that won an Oscar.
Interesting fact, that is one of our least listened to podcasts.
Project Nim?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
You know why I say the number, don't you? I thought about this from yesterday. So when I go episode 22, Project Nim, it's because on iTunes...
In lieu of jokes.
It's a lot easier to rely on the spreadsheets. Yeah.
You're saving the good stuff of the awards till last. Sorry, Matt, you go on.
Only an IT person would appreciate this. I've named them in number format so that when a new listener comes in, they can see what order, if they wish to, they should listen to them in. It's incredibly important. And again, from when you're talking about Amazon Alexa, you can go, play episode 22, please, Alexa, and she will do it.
Okay.
Because the episode is called episode 22.
I got to be honest,
Project
I would
Nim.
love to take the piss out of that level of organisation, Matt, but this would just be me watching a documentary, then texting a mate. And that would be it, if it wasn't for you.
Oh, okay. This would be you back in May, how your life was before
Just
this.
me putting on Facebook, has anyone else seen Making a Murderer?
This documentary was actually recommended to me years ago by one of my oldest mates, Liam, and he loved it. And I think that's the only time I've spoke to anyone apart from you about a documentary until I started doing this podcast. I didn't think anyone watched documentaries.
Yeah.
And the fact that they win Oscars and stuff. So listen to the accolades on this one. 46 wins and 13 nominations. And it doesn't get better than this, right? It won the Oscar for Best Documentary, featuring James Marsh and Simon Chin. So congratulations, gentlemen. As well as it won a proper award because it won a British BAFTA. It won the Alexander Korda Award for Best British Film at the BAFTAs. And it earned $5,258,569. That ain't bad, man, because the budget on this one was $1 million. So that's a cool $4.5 million.
I don't know how they spent £1 million on that.
I do. It was to get his mates in, because his mates were like, I'm not getting involved in this documentary. You're going to make me look an idiot. No, we'll give you different names. Don't worry about it. And here's the blurb, and we'll get into it. A look at tightrope walker Philippe Petit's daring but illegal high-wire routine performed between New York City's World Trade Center Twin Towers in 1974. It's what some would consider the artistic crime of the century, and it's based on the book To Reach the Clouds by Philippe Petit. It's also had a movie made of it with Gordon Joseph Levitt called The Walk, which is superb.
Oh, I was going to... If they made a movie, they needed to get the guy who played Gangster #1, Vision from Marvel.
Oh, yeah, the English
he looks
fella.
so much like him as a younger man. He could have been the spit of him.
Yeah, good shout. Good shout. Gangster #1, very underrated gangster film.
Yeah. Terrible ending though.
Really,
like any British gangster movie.
Terrible
It's just
ending.
them screaming at the top of a building. But there's always the build up in a British gangster movie is great, and then the end's just like, oh, for fucking bloody fucks, and then it's over.
That torture scene, I think that's still in my head. It was superb. It was just incredibly well
Freddie Mize. I was arseholed on his tie pin, drunk at the size of his sock. Yeah, I remember Gangster #1.
Wow, your recall is incredible.
It is remarkable compared to the shit that I don't remember to do.
Yes, yeah.
But this, I had a little journey with myself to kind of rationale how much I enjoyed this one. Now, this is going to be a classic discussing documentaries, Rick Wharton wrong turn away from the documentary, but have I ever told you about my very first stand-up gig? If I have, I apologise, but I'll make it short.
No, go on.
So, always wanted to do stand-up, did it on a whim, went through, and I didn't tell my brother I was getting up because he said I didn't have the balls to get up.
Yes, yeah, go on.
Now,
I love this story.
I didn't prepare a whole heap of material. I was just arrogant enough to think it would go all right.
A bit like you do for the podcast. I'm with you. Go on.
Yeah. You're right. I didn't look up the awards of this one. Sorry, Matthew. Now,
you slagged down my IT skills, Rick. I can't let that stand.
You saw me being genuine for a second, and you went for the neck. But let me tell you, when you come at the king, sir, you best not miss. So, I get there, and it was a really good night. Like, it's a Dog and Parrot, Long Live Comedy in Newcastle. Alternative comedy night. Fucking excellent comics on there at times. But before I went on was a character act who was doing... now, I will propose this, that if it doesn't go well for a character act, it's a very long night. Because you don't get on board with their premise. They can't then break away and go. And his character was, I'm an X Factor judge, and his 10 minutes was a one-sided phone call.
10 minutes.
A one-sided phone call to Simon Cowell, right? And this is an open mic night, like myself. They might have even had the first time, but it brought the expectations of the night down to such a level that my first couple of lines got huge laughs. Now.
Hang on. So you're saying because the guy was so shit, it made you look better than you were?
Yes, and we just watched Dog Groomers last.
We did yesterday. Yeah. Great documentary.
And the impact that has had on Man on a Wire for me is the same that...
You're a funny guy. I've said that before.
And again, I hope that guy's doing well. But as a shitty kid, I always just thought, oh, he's bad. And then the next couple of nights, I died on my arse. So it's just like, oh, this happens to everyone. But yeah, this is my point. So Dog Groomers brought me right back down. So I think we're releasing this the same week of Dog Groomers out of spite because I don't want to lose followers.
Yeah, it depends. But yeah. We'll work that out. So on this one, I helped fund it because it was paid for by the UK National Lottery and the BBC. So well done me again. And Philippe Petit, he's French. Oh, sorry, I'm going to get right into it. Let me stop there. Rick, lead us in.
What do you mean?
Well, just start. You have to start. I know we've started, but just start.
Well, we had the OCD IT guy who had a bit of a mistake finding it. He had his problems.
I cannot tell you how angry I was over this, right? So I started watching it on... First of all, I'm calling you a git because I'm like, what'd you choose this one for? This has been on Amazon and Netflix and Now for the last few years. Now we want to watch it. It's gone. So I'm pissed off, right? And then I find it on YouTube and I'm like, fuck you, Wharton. I'm not going to fall into this. I'm going to watch it. Start watching it on YouTube and a lot of it's spoken in French. Like, so his girlfriend, for instance, she doesn't speak English, right? She only speaks French. And I got so pissed off with not knowing what she was saying. I eventually went to Apple and then I bought it. So thank you very much for the Ko-fi money and for the Patreon. You helped fund that. And then I speak to you and you're like, no, it is on Now TV. You just can't find it on the search function. I took photos and I'm writing currently a really angry email towards Now TV / Sky. That's just disgracefully bad planning on an app part. That won't stand. Sorry, that's not on. I was proper pissed off. It did ruin my morning. I was really angry.
you were seething because I was just like, no, it's definitely on Sky because I had to I had to skip over it to click on well groomed.
Yeah, I was proper angry. Anyway, that aside, yeah, what a great documentary. You can see why it won an Oscar, right? Basically,
Annie Alex is the girlfriend's name there.
Oh, look at you. All right. It is Annie Alex, yeah. When Annie Alex speaks, so she describes so Philippe is a tightrope walker, and he said, like one of his first big stunts was he broke into the cathedral at Notre Dame and the two towers, and he put a wire across there. And you're watching him, and it is incredible, right? It is like a man walking in the air. He's doing like the snowman, walking in the air, and it looks like that. And then she, Annie Alex, says, and I'm paraphrasing, but I've almost got this word for word. So I walked into the cathedral while he was doing this, and I walked up to these people who were kneeling down and praying, and I said, there's a guy wire walking up there. But when she said it in French, that was poetry. Just the way did you not think when she spoke and the words were it was just the most boring statement going. But when she said it, you're like, oh my God, that just sounds beautiful. What did she say? And then when I got the translation on the paid for copy, I was like, oh, was that?
There's a bloke up there.
Yeah. But when she said it in French, it sounds so cool. And even he does, doesn't he? He sounds really cool. Because he's French.
Oh, Mr. Man on a fucking piece of string up there, like.
Well, the thing is, right, she could sound like that. Because to us, it's a French accent. But if in France, for instance, she might be from the northeast of France and she might have a YI man accent.
Yeah, I've always
or a Cockney accent.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't know, do we? To us, it's just they all sound the same.
It's one of the reasons, like, when we were looking to move back home, I know which areas put a fear of God into me. So my girlfriend would be like, what about such and such? I'm like, oh, Jesus, not there. Someone going... and I,
what? Because of the snob value in you of I'm
not the snob value, but like if I know of a story of someone getting tasered in the face down by the shops there, you're like, I don't want my kids growing up there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is the one part of the country I know that. Basically, you don't know where the Pelton Fell of fucking London is until you've lived there.
Yes. Yeah. Good point. I'd move back to where I'm from in an instant, but unfortunately. It's East London, and I'm one of the people who've been priced out of the market.
That's just because you're desperate to be in a tiny house.
You know the beauty of a tiny house, don't you? No one can come live with you. So when she was speaking, I mean, I studied French at school, but no one was asking for a kilo of plums, so I didn't have a clue what she was saying. So in essence, right, this guy's a high wire walker, and... yeah, he likes doing stunts because he's got a bit of an ego, isn't he? Fair play to him. And his stunt is he's going to walk between the World Trade Centers in New York.
And then
that's in essence, it. I
made a note.
You think dog groomers was simple?
I know, but this at least has some stakes. So, like, for me, if I was directing it, I would have kept him till the end to tell his bit, and also because he doesn't shut the fuck up. This guy.
Oh God, yeah, the £1 million that you wonder where the budget went on. It was the videotape for him talking, because that went on for 40, 50 days.
I mentioned this in Searching for Sugar Man, when they were like, it was the 80s and there was a mist coming off the ocean. and then you saw almost like the stars was almost like Jesus blinking as you look down, and you're like, just tell us what you fucking sang. And if you think that's bad, wait until you see Philippe, because Philippe is just like, and I was there, and I had a toothache, and I went into the dentist, and I see this magazine, and it was a building that was not even built yet. It was not. So I pulled the paper out, and I leave the dentist because I don't want to get caught. Like, honestly, just the amount he walked across a wire between the two towers. He doesn't need to embellish anything.
That's right, yeah. We don't need to know that you're a petty theft of magazine articles from a dentist in Paris. It's all right. I adored him. Absolutely adored him. His accent, the way he rolled in the, we'll get to that later, but the way he rolled on grass. And the footage of the Twin Towers being built, I don't know how you feel about that, but I found that quite sad. I got quite poignant over that, just because of, in our lifetime, that's one of the biggest disasters to happen.
Well, it does add a different element to it, doesn't it? Because when you're hearing about them, because they have to go, they stake out the Twin Towers as if they're spies.
Yeah.
They go, they sneak around, they make fake IDs and get in relatively easily. Like, there is a whole bunch of different things where, like, with the context of what happened, 9/11, obviously, it's, yeah.
I used to be a bellboy in a hotel. I've mentioned that quite a few times. And it was on Grosvenor Square. Now, what was also on Grosvenor Square was the American Embassy. And I did 2 days on and 2 days off. And the kid who covered my 2 days off, he basically got fired because some Saudi prince rocked up one day in the coolest looking sports car. This 17-year-old kid who'd only just started driving lessons went, "I'll park that for you, mister." Jumps in the Lambo, I think it was a Lamborghini, starts driving around the block, which is Grosvenor Square, on about his third lap. Loads of American police jump out, guns and that. Yeah, and he gets arrested because they think he's going to do something dodgy to the American Embassy. So, and that was only in, 87? So how these people got away with this in 74, that's only, 10-ish years later.
It's not a political bill, it was a business centre, do you know what I mean? There's millions of people coming and going.
I guess so, yeah.
Terrorism wasn't really in their mind.
Terrorism didn't exist in America, did it? Yeah, yeah.
Well, I think it did, it just wasn't on that scale. Terrorism's, you look at, like, Hitler burning down the Putsch Hall or whatever the fuck it was to take
when he burnt down the Parliament.
Burn down the Parliament as a false flag to the thingy.
Yes.
So so there's always been forms of terrorism. Guy Fawkes surely would have constituted as terrorism.
I've always said that. Yet we have a night celebrating him. It seems
no, we've commercialised him. I don't think we celebrate him. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, penny for the guy.
When's the last time you dealt with that?
Yeah, well, a penny buys you nothing now, does it? It's Patreon for the guy, sir. Patreon for the guy. Now, I don't know how you felt watching this documentary, but for me, it was genuine agony. So, just because I'm an ex-skydiver, the idea of him falling is terrifying to me.
Yeah. And
just watching it, my anxiety levels went up, and my stomach, every time I saw him on the wire, my stomach was turning over. And I genuinely had a real hard time watching it. I also had 7 real strong cups of coffee. So, like, by the time he does get to New York, I am freaking out.
Yeah,
and when they're bouncing the wire to test it, and he's on it going, yeah, bounce the wire, let's see how clever I am. And he's only, 4 foot off the ground, and I'm like, fucking hell, that's terrifying.
Yeah, because it starts with what he's going to do, then goes through his backstory of him he does, like, Sydney, does a high wire across, they've got the same bridge as Newcastle, he goes across the Tyne Bridge. Then when they pull him off there, he pickpockets the policeman's watch.
I've never noticed that before.
What, the same bridge?
They're the same bridge. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Google it. We built a Sydney Opera House in Gateshead. I say we. I mean,
yeah, not you.
Obviously.
Yeah,
but there's a Sydney Opera House in Gateshead now called the Sage. Now, here's something they didn't kind of count for. No one in Gateshead gives a fuck about opera. So now they have this, like, huge purpose-built music hall for opera. Exactly like the Sydney one, and all they do, I think they do a panto in it at Christmas, and they have they do the X Factor auditions once a year in there. The Sage, I'm not making that up.
We're gonna get angry letters now from the Sage. We also do this. We've got a full program of arts. We do stand-up comedy. Not that you two are ever gonna know.
There is a gig there. That's why I didn't bring that up to talk shit about it. And no, I have not been asked to do
it. Philippe Petit says, if I die, what a beautiful death to die exercising your passion. I fell in love with him when he said that. It was I love this man. Absolutely loved him.
There was a guy who reminded me a lot of you, and I didn't catch his name. He's the white-haired guy who had the smile. He was helping them out. He wasn't the French friend. He was like on the American side.
Good teeth.
Good teeth, yeah.
It was, yeah. He was Jim Moore.
Jim Moore. Jim Moore had a bit of Matt Wills about him. If you ever came up to Matt Wills with an idea, Jim Moore's responses on what you get go, yeah, I'll help you go and set all that up. That sounds like a beautiful dream. And you're just like, what? Why are you going to New York for, you fucking idiot?
We're gonna help a man die. Say what you said again about when he came down from the Sydney Harbour Bridge, because that's just beautiful.
Yeah, so he comes down, and they do a good like little directorial thing of every time he's coming down or something, it zooms in on where the police are about to arrest him. And
because the video footage of him is very good, and the quality of it. Bear in mind, this was the early 70s. It's really, really good footage.
It's good enough.
So you've seen lots of stuff. Yeah.
And
so he comes off the bridge.
And as the police grab him, he pickpockets the fucking policeman's watch, which.
How cocky is that?
I am an avant-garde. I am relentless.
That is a ballsy move.
It's so funny because he becomes obsessed with the two towers and how to do it. So, like I say, it jumps in and out between this story. And it goes, I start to make drawings, and the drawings that he has of how he's going to do it is basically two rectangles as the towers, and he draws a line across it.
And then puts a stick man on it.
He's like, genius, it is done.
And there's the Matt Wills equivalent going, no, we need a proper plan here. We're going to need some equipment. No, it's all right. Because he's French, they're like, yeah, all right. He just sounds so cool about it. They get an inside man at the World Trade Center who just looks like the coolest New York cat you could ever meet.
He looks like Satan because he comes out and sees him. He's
70s Satan.
Yeah, he's Satan, the TV show, not the movie.
Yes.
So he's outside the World Trade Center and he says there's someone that shouldn't be there. And he walked out and he recognized Philippe from juggling in Paris. Yeah. Which, on terms of going up...
from the street, that is. He recognises him from the street. That's like someone recognising you from that open mic gig.
Yeah.
Hey, were you... You followed the character act, right, of the Britain's Got Talent guy. That was me. Great. Oh, do you want to break into this building with me?
There was a wonderful moment with him, mate. I would say who, because he has to eventually tell this on stage, but we had a beautiful moment outside a train station. We went up, we did a really nice gig for his show. He absolutely stormed it, right? It was one of those times I'm like, fuck, this guy's going to be amazing. And it was in the hometown. And then the next day, he's walking us to the train station, and we're outside having a cigarette before we get on the train. And he'd be winding us up the whole way there as well, because he's a mate, you know what I mean? We'll piss each other off the whole time, niggling. And this fella goes, oh my God, you are here. And he turns around and goes, oh, thanks for you there last night. And he's behind one of those signs of saying, you are here for the tourist destination.
Ego check complete.
I have never been happier in my entire fucking life. I think I laughed for a 4-hour trip because we both thought they meant him because of like just literally the adulation and the way people were coming up to him after the gig the night before. And it was right, the train station was next to the gig. It was fucking magnificent. You are here. And he's just like, man, oh.
Damn it. So when Philippe talks, he paints the loveliest pictures with his words.
Just quickly, because we started talking about the dude who looks like Satan. I forget his name.
Oh, God, yeah. His name was Barry.
So Barry comes out.
But they changed all their names. So his name was Barry, also known as John.
That's because they put fake name tags on all their passes. That's the names they used.
Oh.
It wasn't just a jokey thing for the documentary.
That makes so much sense. Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. I'm glad you're here because that was bothering me.
Yeah, no, that's why they did that. And he worked for the World Trade Center, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he was based on. Yeah, he was one of the first occupants. Yeah. He was quite a highfalutin manager, but he still had the.
He stuck with the goatee over the years.
Yeah, he had the goatee, but not just the goatee. On the moustache, he had the
Mr. Pringle's Twizzles.
Is it called a handlebar? Yeah, the handlebar,
yeah,
right?
The compare
the
stuff.
handlebar moustache. Yeah.
And just the idea.
Anyone who's not in Britain has no idea what we're talking. The Monopoly guy moustache. Yeah, there you go.
And he stuck with that look throughout the fucking test of time. But the idea that you work there, you go, you want to do what? Oh yeah, I'll help you do that. It's like, what?
Yeah. I like it. Barry gets shit done. That's what Barry does. So in January 1974, Philippe climbs onto the roof of his house and screams, "I'm coming to America!"
Well, he
he
gets in touch with them and he makes out he's a fake journalist from France with the credentials in order to get all the information on the World Trade Center. So he gets to go up and take photographs of it and he gets to go and scope it out, basically.
The man he cons is called Guy Tosinelli. He's the president of the World Trade Center Association. He sounds like a mafia boss, right?
Yeah.
When he's talking, he's like, "Yeah, they conned me. I didn't think to ask for ID." You're like, oh God, if they would have seen the films that we've seen the last 20 years about the mafia, they wouldn't have screwed with you at all, Mr. Toselli.
And there's a lot of whenever I one of two documentaries mentioned, the other one's not too far away from being mentioned in a conversation, which is Man on a Wire and Grizzly Man.
Well, funny you should say that, because I've got a point on this one. That's amazing that you should bring that up. And it's just amazing for me and you. I don't think anyone else is gonna find this interesting.
Because Philippe was actually supposed to play the lead role in Cheers.
Bear with me, mate, because this is an amazing...
That's cool. This is like University Challenge when they go off to Oxford, and then there's 60 seconds of rustling, and they go, pass.
So, you mentioned the Grizzly Man, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, how different would this film would have been if he would have actually died? So, for a start, it wouldn't have won the Oscar for the best film that year. Do you know what would have won the Oscar for best film that year? It was Encounters at the End of the World, which is all about the studying of Antarctica. And that was made and directed by a friend of the show, Werner Herzog.
All right.
Yeah, from episode 1, Discussing Documentaries, Grizzly Man.
Well,
and other stuff, and the Tom Cruise movie, which pisses off my German friends no end.
For me, the difference is two simple things. It would have been exactly the same as Grizzly Man if he'd convinced the girlfriend to go out with him and she fell off.
Like the start of Cliffhanger with Sylvester Stallone.
Like the start of Cliffhanger, yep. And there is a fundamental difference between Philippe and Timothy Treadwell. And that is, Philippe is passionate about his hobby. Timothy Treadwell was passionate on how people perceived him doing his hobby.
Very deep, yeah.
Those differences, and there's an authenticity to it. For how irritating fucking Philippe is bouncing around like a rodeo clown. Here's the thing, right? There comes to a point just before he guns out, and there's a cool story and stuff like that when they're going up into the tower to get into. But there's a point when my girlfriend came downstairs and she's going to chill out and watch it, but she's also in a meeting with work. So she's got her headphones in, and my Xbox controller's died of battery, and the dog's on us, so I don't want to get up and wake the dog up and have to deal with that. So she went, "Do you mind if I mute it?" And he's going, blah, blah, and he's flinging his hands up like the spaghetti guy from the Muppets, and being like gesticulating all over the place. The Swedish cook or the Swedish chef or Danish chef or whatever it is. And she's like, "Do you need to rewind it? What did you miss?" I was like, "Don't worry, he's probably talking about how he chose that pair of socks that day. And I woke up in the morning and I saw the mint green, and I thought the mint green is a perfect adaptation of the American dream within my own dream that I found all my life that was built for me, the stage." And I was just like, "Nah, we'll just wait until he walks out at the fucking wire. We're fine."
He'll get to his point eventually. How long was this documentary? Is it a 90-minute documentary?
Hour and a half, 90 minutes.
Okay. It goes pretty quick, right?
It does go quick, and they make it kind of fun because they make the World Trade Center thing very Ocean's 11-esque on how they're building it and putting it together.
Very much. Yeah,
which, again, with the hindsight and the context of what happened in the World Trade Center, makes it a little bit eerie. But then they come to something that trigger me a bit. It goes, the team was completely unreliable. And I'm like, I'm a guy who I have an unreliable look about me. Do you know what I mean? I've been branded, the squeaky wheel once or twice.
That's because you're the squeaky wheel. As talented as you are the squeaky wheel.
No, I tell you what it is. You can't always match fucking Philippe's enthusiasm. All right, I'm sorry, that's exhausting.
You listen.
Do you not think the gods are watching me? Yeah,
because I'm a Philippe, right? I'm like, this is great, isn't it? And you're like, look, just let's bring it back down to a human being level. Can
we figure out where we're going to hook it onto? That's all I want to talk about. Not the majesty of the sunshine while you're up there. What are you going to hook it onto?
I think you need that You need a realist like you. It's like, hang on, slow down. What are we doing? No, that's a waste of time. And then you need idiots like me to go, no, come on, let's fucking... Because if Philip wasn't insane about it, which he was, it would have never have happened. And we'd probably be doing another dog documentary about now.
But I've been in jobs, say a new manager comes in and they'll go, right, we're not too happy with the scores, and almost like a military parade when the drill sergeant walks down the line. And then they see me with my unironed shirt on and tabs hanging out my pocket. And they'll be like, I have located the sacrificial lamb.
What you should do is you should make yourself look American and just put some pens in your pocket like they did in the back of the van when they were sneaking in. I needed to look American, so I put some pens in my pocket.
There was like this manager's second day at a phone shop I worked at. And she went, oh my God, Rick, you sold 7 phones yesterday. What did you do? So I can put in the WhatsApp group, just like, how you shifting all these phones. I went, 7 people wanted to buy phones. And I swear,
it's
I lasted like a month. A month later, that was like a full-on turf war and a revolution in that store.
And did she win?
Well, I left an upper decker and refused to give the keys back. I then threatened them to take them to a tribunal and got my holiday pay. there was a whole bunch of stuff that happened.
Was that a win?
I wasn't entirely the arsehole on that one. All right. I wasn't entirely.
What I like about that is you accept on the others, I was the arsehole normally. But on that one, I've got grounds. I'm all right.
Well, because the temporary jobs, and again, I know there's some hard-working people that'll be listening to this go, what a fucking cock. Like, when I've had to do a job in a bookies, it's because one of my arsehole friends has got engaged and I have to afford to go on a stag do. The rest of the stuff kind of ticks over with the comedy and things like that. But then when there's a thing that I need to save up for, that's when I need to go into the same entry-level style job I would when I was 17. So when I go into these jobs, I have my written notice in my pocket, like a gun to draw at any time, like I'm Robert De Niro.
Yeah, shove your short.
I just have a betting slip with Rick won't be here in 2 weeks. There we go, 2-1.
Well, because they said they thought the team was unreliable, and the
guy
Rick
stoned.
Walton character. Yeah, the guy rocks up the night before, stoned off his box, and when they asked him about it, his name was Donald, aka David. And he went, was I stoned when I turned up in the meeting the night before? Well, I was stoned for 35 years. There wasn't a day that went by that I didn't smoke weed. So, yeah, probably. He was so cocky about it. You're like, oh, man. And then we had to endure him playing the piano and singing a song.
Yeah, there was a weird one. But here's the thing. When you fucking get a musician to try and get you to, sneak into a building, that's what you're going to get. Who else is hanging out with Philippe other than fucking druggies? Do you know what I mean?
What's this geezer that walks on wires or something? I don't know. He's got the good weed. That's all we know.
Matt Will's good. He's lovely, him. Do you know he killed 6 people? I know, but the way he tells the story.
And he carries a top hat with him. What's not to love about this guy?
Who's hanging out with the guy on the unicycle? Yeah, that'll be Matt. Matt'll be with him.
Quick, come and meet my new friend. He's got 2 unicycles. No, it's just a bike taped together. Basically, there's not much going on in this documentary if you think about it. Right?
This is where it kind of builds, but I think...
But they built the tension so well.
How old's this documentary, by the way? Was it 96?
2008. 2008. So 2008 it came out. And again, this documentary wouldn't have been made if it wasn't for terrorism.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, I'm not pro-terrorism here. I'm just saying.
Oh, that's good. I thought we were going to lose our sponsors for a second, Matt. We just done the fucking dissident with me saying, well, if they buy Newcastle, they buy Newcastle. Like, can I just say 9/11 was bad? And then can we move on, please? All right. I've read an article about woke culture. I don't understand it. But apparently I can lose my job. On. But, so, in my mind... This was one of the first amazing documentaries that I was told about. This, like before a couple,
yes.
Since then, there has been true crime ones and things like the Jinx, and there's other ones that have kind of eclipsed it when someone says, "Have you seen this?" It's now 3rd or 4th, 5th down the line, whenever someone mentions them to me. And I think we have been almost spoiled by the quality of footage that you will get in a documentary now.
Yes.
Because with this one, it's literally this Fruit Loop bouncing around and telling you what he's going to do. He's already done it, but I'm going to make you listen to a 90-minute Edinburgh show about how I got up the stairs.
And he paints it well. He does a great he does a great job of that.
So the day of it comes, they sneak in, they're like hidden in crates or something like that as they go in, or they got crates with the all the equipment.
Yeah, and they just walk in. But, I mean, a few months beforehand, when he was casing the joint out, he stepped on a nail that went through his foot. And he said that was the best thing that happened to him, because then he was on crutches, and the security people would wave him through and would help him get to wherever he wanted to go, because he was on crutches. That's good to know for terrorism job number 2. Let's make a note of that.
Well, that's a bit like Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs. You'd come along with the fucking arm cast on, and women would help them put stuff into the car, and then you would dunk them on the head. Which I don't think Philippe was beyond doing. Will you come into my vehicle?
But the footage they have from the 70s, they must have had a really good camera, right? Because
it's from the news.
Basically, so when they must have been making a film about it when they were practicing for it.
Yeah, they had that little camera.
So when he's practicing in his place in France, let's just talk about this quickly. So obviously it was directed by James Marsh, who did Project Nim, and they cut to a scene where Philippe goes running when they do the test of the bow and arrow to get the wire across.
Oh, that is a funny thing as well to try and figure that out. That's an interesting part. Like
But when they get that working, the bow and arrow bit, right, in the practice field, Philippe runs towards the arrow to see if it landed the 200 feet, which is the distance. It does that. And then he does a Project Nim monkey roll where he falls forward and does a body roll. And then the other guy does the same. I was like, it's almost an homage to...
They do run like excited children without a care in the world. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
It's beautiful, right? I mean, they're grown men in their 20s. And you're like, oh, go on, lads.
With him, the bullies really didn't win. Do you know what I mean? There is no shame in that man.
They never win. So, yeah,
I wouldn't run like that. That's because I think there's a Nelson Muns around the corner about to yell out what I look like if I did. Why is he getting to be so happy, Matt?
So just quickly, there's he's got a few helpers, isn't he? Right, one of the dodgy fellas, and there was a good lookalike there. So Alan, aka Albert, looks like my ex-colleague and lovely fella Gavin Berry, who weirdly enough also looks like Chris Elliott, who worked at the same firm, who's also a lovely fella.
Sometimes, Matt. Sometimes. I don't know why I'm seen as the mean one on this podcast.
There's certain bits I know that I could just stick the knife in now and again. I'm like, fucking have to get me reading about the Patreon at 3 a.m. in the morning. You fucker. Fucking have some of that.
I'm trying to enjoy my 302 snack. Have you never had apple and penguin's blood? It's delicious.
So in essence, they have a team in both towers and they fire an arrow with some fishing line on it from one tower to the other, and he can't see it.
No, you've missed out a whole thing. They make a whole thing. So they get up there and they hear a security guard coming.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So they hide under the tarpaulin, and one guy goes, "Look, I can't do this. I'm bouncing." He goes, "Fine, go." And then he runs down the stairs, and the guy's like, "I am so happy to be leaving this right now." I am so...
The Rick Walton of the crew. He's like, "I'm fucking out of here."
I'm looking at him going, "Do you know what? They're going to say he had a shit attitude at the end of this. He did the right fucking thing." And then they hide.
His name was David, also known as Donald. He was the stoned musician.
Yeah. And
that's the guy who legged it.
So they're underneath tarpaulin, and the security guard on the 86th or the 110th, one of the two. Yeah. And they're hid under there as the security guard's just walking around. And again, now you're at the mercy of Philippe because you get into an interesting bit. It goes, "I can hear the extremity of every cigarette puff that he makes. I hear his lighter flick. I hear the clink as he puts it back into his pocket." And you're like, Jesus, Philippe, you're a second away from doing something fucking interesting. And then he talks about how, like, he pokes a little... I mean, this is over the course of 15 minutes, the story of the security guard. He talks about how he pokes a little hole in to watch them. They sneak around. And then he does this thing, which I do find it's embellishing a story that doesn't need embellishing. He goes, "So I go downstairs to get changed, and the security guard, he comes." Because I think they hear him snoring, is when they eventually move, hours later.
Yeah.
And basically, he walks around a beam, and so does the security guard. So they keep on going, playing hide and seek around the beam. Like, he basically just draws out harpoon marks in 4 different Marx Brothers movies of what apparently happened.
I think he was using what me and you would call artistic license there.
Yeah. Me too, Matt. Me too.
What, he was using the Tom and Jerry, like, do.
It's like he learned to... Yeah. He learned how to tell a story the same way you're meant to tell an anecdote in Reservoir Dogs. You got to know what kind of fucking soap's in that. is that
the commode story? Do you know the commode story?
Yeah. Back in the 70s, there was a real fucking weed problem. You couldn't get it anywhere. I said, "Buddy, I will shoot you in the face." But... So he tells that whole thing, and that takes a while. And then they're finally up there. They fire the arrow, and he was so nervous, he fired it at Philippe and nearly hit him. They are looking for it for such a long time to find the equipment that came over. And then for some reason, he gets naked.
He got naked because he said, "Well, it was fishing wire, and I'd feel fishing wire on my body if it touched me, because I'd be naked." And that's, Your Honour, why I was naked on the roof of the World Trade Center.
Yeah.
The defense rests.
Do you know, for the longest time, I was going, "Do you know what? That security guard, I mean, fucking top floor of the World Trade Center, what a fucking gig." And I thought, not always would it be a great gig.
He got fired. He would have got fired, right?
Eh?
He would have got fired.
If it did, it saved his fucking life.
How did it save his life?
Well, what happened to the top floor of the World Trade Center, Matt? Come on, think local history here.
Oh, fuck that. That was... He would have been dead from all the asbestos in the building way before then.
A job like that, you stay in it. How long do you do a job before you go, "I can just fall asleep here"? You don't leave those
9
jobs.
months.
You do not leave those jobs. They are quicksand jobs. You're in there for life. What, you just go up there and smoke and put your feet up and wait for someone to radio down? You're like, "Can't. I'm 20 floors above the planet."
Yeah, good point. Yeah, good point. So they get up on the roof. He's naked. He finds the rope. They hook it all up. Again, they drag that out into drama. But then eventually he gets out and he's on the rope and he walks between the World Trade Centers, and it's fucking beautiful.
Now, there is a thing which is like, it could have been so much more tense, but the way the documentary was kind of done. If you had not had Philippe in it and you were talking, it just because it's not everyone knew that story. Obviously, and people in New York knew someone did it, and he might have been a bit of a celebrity in America, but globally, you may not have known that happened. Like, in terms of just...
I'd never heard of it.
In terms of a narrative. So, to give it stakes, you can't have seen him be talking in present day, because then you know he doesn't fall. So, it's a kind of like...
Right, yeah.
What's the movies, not the three Lord of the Rings movies, but it's the three that came before it, which is like the Bilbo Baggins,
Hobbit.
The Hobbit, right? Now that you've seen 19 hours of them going to Mordor, right, and Frodo survives, and Bilbo's there, and where Bilbo... Don't then show me a 3-hour movie where he's in a 40-minute sword fight, because there's no stakes. I know he survives.
That's like the Han Solo movie. You know he's going to be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly that. Or a better example, was it Nurse Ratched on Netflix? Like, yeah, this is her doing her NVQs to work in the hospital.
I'm going to really fuck someone up later. When he's walking across the wire, his girlfriend is down on the ground, and there's some great pictures. The pictures they've got are stunning. And again, she says to everyone, "Look, there's a man walking on a wire." But the way she says it, you're like, "Oh God, that sounds like poetry. Carry on talking. What are you saying?"
I know, but my point of this was
wire.
Because she goes, again, speaking in French, I said to everyone, "Look, there's a man on the wire," but they couldn't see him. And I'm like, so if you said it in English then, why can't you talk in English now for the documentary? Because I can't listen and read. Like that, I can't do both at the same time. If I'm looking at my phone, I'm not listening to who's talking to us.
Right.
I'm thick as fuck, basically. Right? But, so... You're talking about her voice was poetry. It's like, no, it's too busy
you can't
reading.
be that thick. You can't be that thick, because I can't even work out what you've just said. I must be thicker than you. What
because she turns around, right? So she says, and this is in the subtitle, she's speaking in French.
Yes.
She then says she's on the streets of New York.
Yeah.
And she says, I turned to everyone, "Look, there's a man on a wire." And they said, "We can't see a man on a wire." How did they fucking understand French on the streets of New York?
Oh, okay.
So obviously she must
have... It's a multicultural city.
I think she could have done it in broken English. There we go. That's what I'm saying.
Right, okay. But you can't... Hang on. But the point of that is you can't read. What can't you do about reading?
No. If I'm reading something, if I was reading it, I wasn't listening to what she was saying. I had the same problem with The Dissident.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because it's a lot of subtitles you're trying to keep up with.
Yeah, all right. Okay. Wouldn't have had that problem if you watched it on YouTube, because they didn't have any fucking subtitles on YouTube. What really got me is he's out there on the wire, and he lays down on a wire. I'm a 50-year-old man. I've got a king-size bed. I was laying on it last night. No word of a lie. I fell out. This is the bed. How did he lay on a wire?
Well, that is one of his party tricks you see him doing on the other ones as well, but you don't think he's going to do it on this one, because also the wire is the worst one they'd ever made. Because it was drooped, it was slack. They couldn't fasten it as well as what they'd hoped to, and the guy who sheds a lot of tears in the end, he's like, there was a moment when you saw him smile and you go, "Oh, thank God, he's going to be okay. He's got it." But they did
he cried a few times. That was his childhood friend, Jean-Louis.
Well, there's a point where he goes, "People say they don't believe me, but I could see the crowd. I could hear them murmur." I heard the murmur of the crowd. I just thought the way he said murmur was fucking hilarious. How can you make murmur sound poetic? The murmur of the crowd.
And then basically, he's out on that wire for 45 minutes. What did he do? He does 8 twos and fro's, and then he keeps winding up the old bill, doesn't he?
Yeah, because the police
so
are
he walks
there again.
back to So he walks back to the cops and goes, "Ah, sake." The best person in this, I adored Philippe. I loved listening to his girlfriend. I loved all his friends. But for me, the person who made the documentary was Sergeant Charles Daniels.
Great little bit, wasn't it?
Port Authority policeman. We observed the tightrope dancer because you couldn't call him a walker. And what popped into my head there was when we were at the London Stadium and you went, "Look at Saint Maxim. He's a dancer."
Yeah, I was meant to try and keep my mouth shut in the home end, but then
Oh, yeah, nearly got stabbed. But,
the young lad with the bandana was fucking awesome, and every time we go, he's a dancer, Matt. He's a dancer. Look at him. Look at him. They can't do that with him. Can't get near him.
And Sergeant Charles Daniels, the cop, said someone spoke to him in French because he was French. Yeah, thanks. Cheers, policeman. He was gorgeous. I love that cop.
They were going to try and snatch him up with a helicopter. That was going to be the plan. Work? That reminded me of... this will be the last tangent. Did you know the Raoul Moat story?
Yes.
Like, the way that ended... Because there's a whole hilarious, and if there is ever a documentary on it, we're doing that the day that it's fucking released, without a shadow of a doubt. It is Geordie theatre. But
give us the 30-second for the people who don't know the Raoul Moat story.
So Raoul Moat, released from jail, went and shot, I believe, a police officer and his missus's new boyfriend. He told them he was going to do that on the way out of jail. He was then on the lam. He was hidden. He got chased down to an area above Newcastle, I think around Alnwick, a bit woodsy. Paul Gascoigne, England footballer, apparently recognised him as a bouncer, jumped in a taxi in a dressing gown with 8 cans and some chicken to go and help with the police standoff with this now fucking serial killer. So Gaza shows up, and basically they're there. Raoul Moat's got a gun to his head, threatening to shoot himself. And this is how they diffuse the situation. So that he doesn't shoot himself, they taser him. And obviously shoots himself through electricity.
I didn't know is that how it happened?
Yeah, they tasered him. Well, yeah, it goes, if you come any closer, I'll blow my brains out. And then they went, okay. Light him up, boys.
Release the hounds.
But let me tell you.
Shit, I didn't know that's how he died.
The area that happened in is about the windiest part of the northeast, and it's a very windy area. So I imagine they were out there for 3 hours and went, fuck it, if it doesn't work, it puts this to... Do you know what I mean? I really want Gaz's autograph before he sobers up.
What do you mean there's no tea left?
So the idea that this guy on a slack wire above the World Trade Center, you got to get a helicopter close enough to him with the propellers and the wind that would generate to try and capture him.
It's insane. Yeah. They cover that really well in the Gordon Joseph Levitt film, The Walk, when they try and he's like, if you do this, you're going to kill me. Because they're like, all right, well, we'll unhook the rope. We'll get you in that way. And he went, it doesn't work like that. He then gets arrested, right? So he does come back in. He gets arrested, and then it cuts to him doing tricks with a policeman's hat in the cell. Yeah, how cocky is this kid?
Because all the newspapers and stuff loved him so much. They went, look, if you do a few tricks for the cameras in this little show, we'll pump it down to this charge. It just
well, the charge that he was charged with, right, was trespassing and disorderly conduct, and he took a deal from the DA to do some juggling for some kids. That was his punishment. Whereas his French friends all got deported. He just had to do 5 minutes. That's effectively, if you ever get arrested and they go, okay, you're looking at 6 months, but can you do your reactive dog bit to this lot, right, and then we'll let you off.
I just think, it's like a tatted cop, divorced dad. He's trying to get back in with the mother. He's fucked up. He's never there because of the shifts. And they ring up and go, it's Billy's birthday today. Have you booked a clown? He's like, oh, Jesus, give me 2 seconds.
The Frenchman who keeps giving.
Sipowicz, have you got the weird guy on the wire? Yeah, you booked him. No, send him in. Don't stop the paperwork. It's coming down from the beer.
The second they release him from prison, a woman comes up to him outside the police station, which...
Now, at this point, he is not in prison. He's doing interviews for TV and doing this kind of stuff. I don't think he goes to... Because he would have had caught and sentenced at a later
I thought this was when they released him initially from getting arrested.
Oh, yeah, so not from out of prison. So this would be him bailed from that to go away.
This is him getting... So he gets arrested on the day. He gets released from the cop station, and as he comes out, a woman comes up to him and offers him sex. Now, I've done 500 odd stand-up gigs, I reckon. I reckon 2 of those have gone like I think I've smashed 2 of them, right? Which I believe is a really poor hit rate.
You've fallen out of more beds this year.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I've never been offered sex, ever. So what do I have to do to be offered sex? I'm not saying I'm going to take the sex up, but...
So for £15 on the Patreon...
But he gets offered sex. Bear in mind, he's got a girlfriend.
The girlfriend who's stuck with him for years and just 5 minutes ago helped him achieve his lifelong dream. She puts her arm on his neck and says, I want to spend time with you. And then he just goes, he pretends that he's still in the police station. So that's how close it is. It's outside.
He lies to all his mates and his missus.
Yeah.
And goes and sleeps with this woman.
Yeah.
I feel that scene where they reenacted him having sex with that woman, that to me was a doff of the cap to Stanley Kubrick from Clockwork Orange, when Malcolm McDowell from Gangster No. 1
looked a lot like that. Yeah.
Has sex with the 2 women. Yeah. So I just thought that was amazing. And him and Philippe and Annie Alex, they split up. It's quite sad. And his mate Jean-Louis just says he did it. It was amazing, and he starts crying. And it's really emotional. It's beautiful. It's a gorgeous documentary. Absolutely lovely.
It's a brilliant documentary. It is brilliant. Really good.
For what it covers, because it doesn't cover much, right? You think about it. It's just lovely.
But you do see
so well made.
John Philippe, even as a teenager, when he goes, I want to walk across those 2 buildings on a wire. No one tried to stop him.
Yeah. And how did he fund this? That's what kept popping into my head.
Well, I think he just had the one wire.
No, but he kept flying back and forward.
You're right. I don't know.
Where'd he get the money from, Rick? Patreon. That's how he did it. The minute we get 500 Patreons, we'll stop talking about it. I promise you.
From this window in this little podcast room, I've kind of built... sorry, I'm looking out into the room now. It's not a podcast room. It's the clothes that I still haven't unpacked, plus my laptop, in a room that my girlfriend doesn't come in. But there is a house with the roof exactly in line.
I carried those clothes up there.
There's a house with the roof, and I go, for £50 a month, I will attempt to get to that other roof. I do not want to work in Ladbrokes anymore.
This is how Jackass was born. It was just sheer desperation to not go back to a back-breaking 9-to-5 job. Right, Rick, give us your score, mate.
I'm giving us as solid a 4 as you can get on this one.
Yeah, I'm going 4.5 on this one, just because of the accents. Love an accent. That's 9.5 for Man on Wire. It won Oscars, it won BAFTAs, and it's just got a very high score from me and Rick on Discussing Documentaries.
It's one of those ones, if you're in conversations about documentaries a lot, you're going to be asked if you watch this one.
It's always going to pop up. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for listening. There is a load more content coming every single week. Thanks very much. Say goodbye, Rick.
Thank you very much for listening. Take it easy, guys.